Hi, this is Bobby Tribble, and welcome to my commentary for Teddy Boy Blues, a pretty obscure Sega game from 1985. I'm just running through the first level here, and I got all the Mexican wrestlers, the first enemy. All the enemies are pretty simplistic in that they don't shoot at you, and they run around and have basic patterns that you can find. The Mexican wrestlers are a little bit hard to find the pattern, like if you just saw that guy ran away from me, so sometimes you try to get them to come to you, and they turn around for some reason when they get to a corner or when they get to an edge. So that guy finally jumped at me so I can go and collect him. The idea of the game is to shoot all the enemies and then collect the little jelly beans that they turn into before the jelly beans eat away your time limit at the bottom if you wait for too long. And after the first two levels, you choose a bonus round, and then bonus rounds appear every 4 levels after that. Here's the first one. There's 48 treasures. There's actually only 43 treasures, and 5 of them repeat. So as you see me going through here, the repeating ones are the sliding door, that was the third treasure I got, the trash can, the little wicker trash can on the left, and the 3 cushions. Also, the 3 cushions have to be gotten in order, but I guess I'll talk about that when I get to the next round when I start doing them. Anyway, back to the game. I think in a second, after I cheat here and do a save state, to level 3. This is where some more enemies start appearing. So you saw the Mexican wrestler and the Dharma. Now you get the dragon heads and the little jumpy, whatever those things are, guppies, I guess. Lots of weird enemies in here. I don't know exactly how they all tie together, but it's all kind of like the Fantasy Zone style that Sega had with Fantasy Zone, Space Harrier, and I don't know, Pangos shows up in a bonus round later. So maybe that has something to do with the story here. Don't quite know what the story is. Plus, Yoko Ishino, the pop singer, has something to do with it too. So I'll get to the other characters later, but the worms are, they have an interesting pattern that they go around the walls, but then when they run across you up and down, they fall. So if they're in front of you, they'll fall right in front of you and you can shoot them. But if they come up behind you, they'll basically drop on your head. So you kind of have to keep moving. So if you see, just drop down right in front of me, so I can collect them and get the bonus. So I talked about the Mexican wrestlers. They just kind of run, and when they get to an edge, they jump, or sometimes they turn around. So that's what's tricky about them. Sometimes you want to get them and they turn around. The dragon heads fly diagonally, so they're really dangerous if they're above you. They'll drop down right on you. So you try to have some kind of protection. In this case, I'm protected in that room. Another way you can protect is if you have a platform above you that'll stop them from dropping down on you. So if you see, you can find patterns in the rooms too. I'm standing on a platform, which let me get all those dragon heads pretty easily. Then I stand up here to try to get the Mexican wrestlers, luchadors, and just so they're coming at you at a straight pattern. Same thing with a chain of dharmas. They're if you get in front of them and shoot them, they go down pretty easy, but they sometimes jump. They like hit a bump, they jump, and that means you miss one of them and they can land right into you. So they're a little dangerous too. So back to the bonus room. This is after round 6. I'm going up to these cushions. You have to get the cushions in this order. Otherwise, you have to start with the left one. Otherwise, the other ones won't appear. So if you go through these bookcases, you can get a whole bunch in a row here. And that's all I got for that. And the other thing about the bonus rounds, you get a choice whether to do the Teddy Boy Shooting Gallery bonus round or the Yoko Ishino Treasure Room bonus round. You should always go for the Yoko one because the treasures add up in value, while the Teddy Boy bonus round always has a limited value. So if you don't choose the Yoko bonus round, you'll never get to choose it again. And after you do pass all the treasures in the Yoko bonus round, it'll go to the shooting gallery anyway. So you might as well get all the bonus points you can. And I think that's the best way to get the higher score. So here's another pattern. The other thing about the game is it repeats, it loops from left to right, and it loops up and down. Left and right is just one screen, up and down is I think 2 screens. So this is one of those rounds where you can kind of just fall infinitely if you get to the right part. So here's a new enemy, the snail. And they're really tricky, as you can tell. They keep on retreating into the shell when you try to shoot them. The easiest way to get them is if you get them in a confined space where they have to turn around a lot. It seems like you can get the snail when they are making a turn, or I've had a lot of luck if you're on a flat surface and you walk along on the ground and they're on the ground too, then you pretty much can shoot them. But there's no long flat surfaces on this level, there's just these little contained rooms. So I think if I remember my game here, I have a lot of trouble at the end with this snail, and it takes me a long time to finally get him to a point where he's turning around. In fact, I have to jump off the platform because I just got burned away, and it's pretty obvious, but I might as well tell you. The platforms burn away if you stay on them for a while, so it doesn't let you just camp out on one spot. Now, if you notice another strategy I'm doing here, I'm shooting away at these worms, and since that other breakable wall was off the screen, it didn't break away when I shot them, so I can just keep them in that room while I'm shooting them. Here's another repeating level. This is the pattern I use anyway. This is a good way to get them. You kind of drop down, get all of them as they go here. And I don't want to drop back down because all those enemies will be on the ground waiting for me. I'll just drop down into a batch of enemies. So I go back here and go back to the ground level where all the guys are, I don't know where they're at. I don't know what else to describe it. Anyway, I think that's most of the strategy, except this is the level where the last type of enemy appears, round 10. So if you notice that pattern, I got up to a good level where I could just shoot all the dragon heads away. Then I get the Mexican wrestlers, most of them here. One guy got away. The little yellow marshmallows, they take a bunch of shots to hit. So they get redder and redder until you finally turn into the jelly bean. So the tricky thing with them is obviously that they take a lot of shots, and if you interrupt that round of shots with anything, they'll go back to just being their regular state of walking and jumping around. So sometimes when they appear out of the dice, if it's higher than 3 or so, you'll get like 5 of them lined up, and you'll be shooting one, and then the next one will appear, and then you start shooting him, and the other guy will get back to normal, and you won't get any of them because they'll just be all bunched together. So you kind of need to get them separated a little bit before you shoot them away. If you see I'm having trouble with the snail again, so much fun. My least favorite enemy in this game. There, I finally got him, and I just have to try to figure out the pattern here where this guy's gonna jump, which I think I don't do too well, but there you go, finally got to the level he's at. And the other thing about the time meter, I can say a few more things about the game here. Oh, well, let me see if there's anything about the bonus level I want to see. Drink the beer, turn red. Then I do back to the cushions, and I think I tripped up. I should have gone down and gotten the wicker trash can while I was over there. So if you watch when I'm playing, I have to make a long haul to get the last two things, which were the sliding door and the wicker trash can. And I was pretty lucky here. Those yellow guys were bunched together, but I was still able to get them. And the other thing that's tricky in this game is whether to focus on destroying the enemies or collecting the jelly beans. Because if you don't collect them, then you see it's eating away. And sometimes you have to just let it eat away because it's lots of dangerous enemies around you, and you have to get to your task of shooting them. So the other thing on the time level, if you are at the end, your time is up and you lose your life. If the jelly beans, or whatever those guys, whatever they turn into, they eat away your time. If they eat away the last bit of your time, but that's it, that's the last enemy, you're okay. You just get no bonus. Actually, anything in that last red bar is no bonus. And each of the orange, yellow, white, blue, and dark blue, as they go up in value. So the dark blue is worth the most amount of points if you can beat the level. So this is also a very tricky level, I think, because there's very few safe spots to collect these guys, so a lot of them end up eating away your time. And on this demo of the levels, anyway, I go through each level without losing a life, which is pretty tricky, especially at the end. But this level especially, you might just see how I even got the hurry up, which means they're in the last bar. And see, here's a infinitely falling guy because there's no ground on this loop. But anyway, um, on this level, you probably end up destroying some of the enemies, collecting them, and then dying. When you die, it doesn't reset you. The enemies you collected will be gone from the dice. Or either if you collect them or if they eat away your time, they'll be gone. Or even if they're flying towards your time, they'll still count as being gone. And this is another tricky looping level. I probably should have actually died there, but I got lucky. So you just have to, I don't know, see the repeating pattern where the Mexican wrestlers jump through. And you just have to kind of find the level. When I first saw this level, I was like, how do I get to anything? And then I noticed there's some destroyable walls. I'm like, oh, okay, I see. And I finally got to the enemies there. So if only I can figure out where these dharmas are jumping to, I can finally get to them. I think. There we go. And the other thing about these chained enemies, they'll follow the chain, and if they're on a part of the maze where there's just a little, they're just going back and forth, they'll jump up, and then if they still can't get out of there for a little while, they'll start getting like hyper and jump higher and higher and higher, and you can see them getting a little hyper in there. As you notice, they kind of travel along the ground, and then they figure out that they're kind of stuck, so they kind of start jumping higher, which can work a little bit if you're a little bit above them and want to shoot them, but it can also be to your disadvantage if you're waiting on an upper platform and they jump into you kind of unexpectedly. The other thing I've noticed with the jumping guppy guys, with leg guys, sometimes they do crazy jumps. They can jump really horizontally. So you have to be really careful of these guys. The best way to destroy them is to wait for where they land and shoot them away as they land. Sometimes they also get stuck in a little crevice and you can shoot them away. Anyway, back to the treasure room. 8 left. So I just kind of go along the levels here. I think you can kind of see where they're at. If you don't get a treasure, like if you're at a spot and you hit the button to try to collect the treasure and there's nothing there, you kind of do this little, I don't know. That's really annoying and it wastes your time. So you have to get right in the spot where the treasure is, or else you will waste your time in that level. So here's another kind of pattern. And I've been waiting too long here, and I let the fire appear, which actually wasn't too good. But it'll let me drop to this lower level, which is kind of a safe shooting spot for these dragon heads. And as long as you're at a level where you're a little above them, they'll eventually move up into your shots. Well, I'm starting to... Oh yeah, okay. Just as I was running out of stuff to say, here's a level where it's almost like a little puzzle. So you have to shoot away those first breakable walls first so that you can jump up to this level and get to this spot where you can shoot all the enemies. And I was pretty lucky on this one because all the enemies disappeared. A lot of the times the snails won't die there. But as I used save states, I was able to keep trying until I got lucky. So this kind of shows the ideal version of all the levels, since I used this MAME save states to get through them. But that was a way of not dying on there. This is another level where you probably just die and have to use the advantage of getting some of the enemies previously. There's another kind of puzzle one. What I found in this one, you can shoot away the enemies up here, and then when it starts to get a little too crazy, which is pretty much when the yellow guys appear, the marshmallows, just go down into this kind of chamber down here and let all the enemies come to you. The dragon heads will eventually find their way through that little passageway, and most of the other enemies will get down there. I think, yeah, these 3 dragon heads will be the last ones to appear in the chamber to get down there. Then you just have to figure out how to get to the rest of the enemies, which I do here. Shoot away these bricks, and then, to my advantage, wait for the fire to eat out the platform below me, get out of there, and that will let me free this little yellow guy. Just have to be careful of the jumpers. Now they're in a little corridor here, so I have a pretty good chance of shooting them. Missed one, but I got him. And then just try to collect the guys before they eat away your time. So, round 18. This one's not too hard because each enemy is confined in their own room. So you can just break open the walls as you're ready to get to them. Even though I kind of already broke open the wall to that room, it doesn't matter quite so much because I have to go through here anyway. And that's safe to get through because that dice will not let enemies out yet because there's still a certain number of enemies already existing in the game. So now that all those Mexican wrestlers are gone, the dice let these guys out. So we're safe. So, this is round 18 already. There's 43 unique levels. There's something about the number 43 in this game. There's 43 unique treasure locations and 43 levels. Maybe that was somebody's favorite number, I don't know. So now back to the bonus room, and I get the last two bonuses. So this is not the good way to do it. I have to make a long haul to the sliding door and then to the wicker trash can. Then I collect a cool 1,000,000 points, which is more than all the points I've gotten so far. So you get a pretty mega bonus if you can get this far. It's pretty hard to get this far in the game without cheating like I'm doing. There's happens to be a dip switch in the game which will give you unlimited lives. In MAME it says it gives you 200 or so lives, but I played through last night to see how far I could get, and I never ran out of lives, and I think I lost more than 200. So I think it's just unlimited lives. But if you can get this far and you get that bonus, you'll get a nice high score 1,000,000, which will give you a lot of points. So anyway, here's a good example of the jumpers getting stuck in a crevice. They weren't going anywhere because they would have jumped all the way to the end before they turned around. And there's a nice little enclosed room for the snails. So I just find a safe spot to shoot away that breakable door or breakable wall, and then I can just shoot them away because it's as they're turning around. And I don't have to worry too much about this fire because it'll only break away one chunk of that wall. So I can just let it keep coming pretty much. It only breaks away one horizontal level for you. So the other thing, the dip switches in the game, since I'm don't have too much more to talk about, this is kind of a reflex level. It repeats up and down, and there's lots of empty space, so there'll eventually be just lots of dropping enemies, so you have to look out below. They'll drop on your head. But the dip switches, there's that dip switch for all the lives. The other dip switch is a difficulty, which is easy and hard. I haven't even tried the hard dip switch, but I imagine the timer probably just goes down faster, because the enemies' patterns are pretty well set in the game, so I can't imagine them changing. So the other lives, the choice of lives for the dip switch is 2, 3, or 4 are limited. I think the other one is how many extra lives you get. But anyway, this demo happens to be the default, which is 3 lives easy, and you'll get 2 extra lives. I forget what points you get them at, but you can get up to 2 extra lives. So at round 21. This one's a little tricky, just because there's so many variety of enemies, and the pattern is not too obvious. But if you get all these jelly beans, and then let the other guys come out, it'll free up some empty space. You just have to watch out for your head because these worms will appear from lots of different places where you don't expect them. So if you keep an eye on the little worms, and then try to figure out where the jumpers appear. So I guess the other thing I was going to mention is the other versions of Teddy Boy Blues. So Teddy Boy Blues, the arcade game, had the license of Yoko Ishino singing her hit song, Teddy Boy Blues. But then later on, the game was ported to the Sega Master System, which probably around 1987, a few years later, and they just called it Teddy Boy. And they took out the lovely Yoko Ishino song, which plays on every level. Also, surprisingly, it hasn't gotten into my brain, even though you'd think it would. So, the other version of Teddy Boy was not released for the Sega Genesis. It was just called I don't know if they called it Teddy Boy Blues or Teddy Boy. I think they called it Teddy Boy Blues, the prototype version. But it's not very good, and it plays really slowly because only one enemy pops out of the dice at the time. Not like this game where there's lots of craziness happening. So the other thing I was going to talk about, this is you give me an hour, I just start rambling about random stuff. But the other thing with the unlimited lives, I was able to see round well, the rounds will keep repeating. There's 40, 43 rounds, which is strange because there's 43 treasures in the room that don't repeat. There's 48, but then 5 of them repeat, which means 43 treasures. There's 43 rounds. Then after that, the rounds will repeat, but with harder enemies. So on here, I'll go through round 50 without dying, and then I'll continue on without save states and see how far I get, which is around 55. It's pretty hard. But anyway, here's a shooting gallery stage since I got all the treasures. You can see the other character of Flicky and Pango. The other, I don't know, Pango's pretty well known. Flicky not so well known, but they're both from other Sega games. Flicky also appears in the Cuckoo Clock in the Yoko stage. And I don't know, round 23 here. It's actually not too difficult of a round because you get this safe spot where the dragon heads can't really get you if you're near that alligator tail. And there's another pretty safe spot in the mouth here. And you'll see me moving around back and forth a lot, not only to collect the jelly beans, but to stop the fire from appearing. So you kind of have to keep moving even if you're just walking back and forth. And when you're in here, usually the jelly beans will appear right in the mouth, although they're not doing that. They're falling out outside there. Yeah, so the other, the repeating stages, so round 43 is the end of unique rounds, and then it will continue to round 86. It'll repeat all the rounds, but there'll be tons more enemies, and it's so hard. You can see round 44, it's the first level, which is easy. Round 1 is easy. Round 44 is very hard because of all the craziness going on, and the round after that's even harder. You just have to. The hard part when you get to that part of the game is just collecting all the enemies because they'll just eat away your time, and it's hard to get all of them in one life. You pretty much will just die. But here's the thing about round 24. The main thing on this is that all the enemies will end up collecting on the bottom, and the dragon heads will end up collecting there too, so you have to shoot away the dragon heads and collect the jelly beans. This is another puzzle level. It'll give you safe spots to shoot all the enemies away. So there's the safe spot for the dragons, and you just have to figure out, don't shoot those away because the jumpers will appear. You go down here, and it's a pretty safe way to shoot the jumpers. I just kind of got them that way. Then that brings you to this room, where you shoot away these bricks, and you can get a nice level to shoot these away. And if you notice, you shoot one brick above you. So that platform is one above you, so I was still able to shoot away the dharmas. So you can shoot away the enemies on the same level or one level above you, which is useful for figuring out how to shoot away those little yellow marshmallow guys, because you need to stand on one spot and shoot them, either on the same level as you or one platform above. Speaking of, here's those marshmallow guys, so I'll just let them jump up to me. In a way, you kind of let them come to you, although I'm in a pretty sticky spot there. I almost died, but I was lucky enough to make it through. And I pretty much just am on a safe spot there with that kind of roof above me to stop enemies from dropping on my head. I just need to try to figure out how to get this last marshmallow guy. Now I did talk about the 43 unique levels. Then after that, the levels repeat again with more enemies, and then after that, they just keep repeating with the higher number of enemies. And then when you get to round 99, you pass level 99, then it goes on to the next level, but it still keeps it at number 99. So that's the way that works. Also on the bonus rounds, the shooting gallery, if you notice, the little guys come out with a banner that says bonus game, except for the first time you get to the shooting gallery, and that's how you can tell when it's repeating. If they don't come out, you're back to the first shooting gallery level. For what it's worth, here's the gender level. I found out through kind of trial and error this gender. I don't know if they're trying to make some statement about the genders of the Mexican wrestlers. Maybe they're women, I don't know. But just find safe spots to shoot them away, which was at the top of the arrow and inside this room here. and then the Dharmas. I was just waiting for that guy to appear, so the Dharmas will appear after that enemy's gone, and you can shoot them away and collect them, and then the other Dharmas are safely contained in that room, so you can shoot them away here. The other thing, if you see kind of step by step, like stair step platforms like that, if you're running down the steps, you can't jump. So you have to make sure to stop and then jump. However, these stair steps are too wide, so you'll at least be able to jump if you're running down the steps. But there's been a few times where I'm running down those stair steps, those 1x1 square blocks, and I wanted to jump and I didn't jump because it's one of the quirks of the game. But this one is pretty much just looking out for the worms, not letting them drop on your head, and trying to find a spot where you can shoot the yellow guys away, which is either on one of those flat platforms or standing on a platform and shooting across to where the little marshmallow guys happen to be. Which I think, see them. There we go. Go down to the level and get them back. They'll eventually jump at a spot where you can get them, but they can be annoying. One thing I haven't figured out is what makes them walk away from you and what makes them walk towards you. Sometimes they just change directions. And when I was playing last night on some of the higher levels, there's just infuriating. Like, why are you running away? Why did you switch directions at that time? Hard to figure out. So that's not a recommended way of getting one, but having them jump right in front of you like that. But I lucked out that time. What can I say? And there we go. Luckily he jumped over it so I could get him. So hopefully this isn't too out of sync. I've had a few hiccups on the video here. This is a slightly tricky level because these pits where the jelly beans will collect into, I don't know, you just have to get them and look out above when you're collecting the enemies, because if you're unlucky, the enemies will jump into you or fall right on top of you, which is hard. Can be hard to tell with the different levels that look pretty similar here, especially since you can't always see what's below you because the repeating vertical levels are 2 screens high. So let's see how I do here. I think I'm gonna do okay with the save states. So it's kind of cheating, but I didn't do a save state in the middle of a level, so I did honestly get through each level without dying. I just got to the beginning of the level. Sometimes it took me a few tries, but I eventually got there. It's a cow level. Usually these animal levels can be a pain in the butt, but the cow level, my strategy was just to shoot away the Mexican wrestler guys. Then, see, here's where these guys are overlapping each other. Could not shoot them away, so I tried to break them up. Get to that guy, get to this guy, and once all the enemies in this room appear, the there's only 2 of those yellow guys will appear at the same time. And I think the 6 dice are worms, so we'll see them start to come out, yeah. And use my reflexes, get out of there. That was too sticky of a situation. And there's tricky worm collection there because one is in front of you and one's behind you. You really have to look out when the worms are above and behind you because they'll drop right on your head. So you gotta keep moving. And just get this last guy. So, the bonus game. So with the shooting galleries, I think there's 5 or 6 shooting galleries, and then it will repeat, and they'll just pop up faster. And if you notice the different values you get, if you shoot an enemy right when it pops up, you get 2,000. If you wait a little longer, you get 1,000. The longer after that you wait, the lower they're worth. And then if you get all of them, you get a cool 20,000. Which, if you look at the values of the Yoko treasure room treasures, you can see why it's worth doing the treasure room, because the value of the treasures keeps adding up, and you end up getting a lot more points. This is just another crazy level. You just have to look out above you, because those guys will just want to jump right on your head. But I get a feeling I'm going to get through this level without dying. We'll see how I do. I don't know, I actually don't remember how many tries it took, but you just have to use your reflexes and keep an eye out. Use your peripheral vision and look out for the guys jumping around there. Next up, this is round 32 now. Just look out for these Dharmas first of all, just shoot them away. and just kind of try to find a spot to shoot all the other guys away. I don't think there's too much strategy this level. If you notice, I use that one little brick as a try to protect myself from above, and then just all these pain in the butt snails. Just try to get them. And I should have died there, but luckily I shot him. Which I still am not 100% positive what makes the snails die or retract into their shells. I know if they're turning or if you shoot them in their face, but you can just keep shooting at them. Just don't continually shoot at them or they'll just stay in the shell. And I got the hurry up. So I won't get any bonus points on this level. I just try to get this guy before the time runs out. Next up, round 33. So not a whole lot of pattern to this one. Just have to try to find a safe spot to shoot all the bad guys. I just had to make sure that the jumpers didn't land on me. So you can see sometimes they start getting to a wall and then they just jump against the wall and you can just shoot them out. And then I just have to find a spot to shoot away the dragon heads. You can see they like to go back and forth on the ground sometimes. And then they'll find an opening and like jump out. So I was a little lucky here that I didn't have anybody run into me. But luck or save states, one of the two. Round 34, another animal level. This one's another pain in the butt animal level. So first I make sure to get all the worms and collect them all because they pretty much just walk around like that. Then just try to find a spot to shoot all the rest of the guys. And if notice I'm standing here because it's it was a pretty good protection for my head. I always try to have something above my head. You can see when I'm out in an open spot like that, I like to get out of there. Yeah, unless I know there's only like one enemy left. But if there's a bunch of enemies running around and you're in an open spot, it's really not safe. Then the other thing is just trying to get all these 6 marshmallow guys without having them overlap too much. As you see they're overlapping a little there. But they eventually split up, so that was good. See, I'm at a lower level to shoot that guy away. Shoot him right in the butt. And there we go. Right, oh, not round 35. The bonus game. So the bonus games actually will repeat. So if you do eventually memorize the pattern, you'll be able to do it. I actually don't know the pattern. But if you played enough, I guess you would. Round 35. This one also, I don't think I ever did find a pattern for this. It's just lucky enough to have those guys land right in front of me and not kill me. And you can't jump over that, so I had to shoot that away before I could jump across. And then just try to find a spot to shoot these marshmallow guys. It's pretty tricky. It's even trickier around whatever 35 plus 43 is. That would be 78. It's pretty hard because there's like twice as many enemies. So that's about it. Just try to get the rest of these guys. Those yellow guys take a while, and the snails take a while. So I think I might be down to a hurry up on here. So anyway, from now on, if I run out of stuff to say in a round, just fast forward to the next one, and I'll obviously be quiet, so you can safely fast forward without missing anything, unless you like to hear just silence. So I'll be quiet now. Round 36. Oh, this one's a pain. There's just these. What it is, they'll keep falling infinitely, as you can see, and it's so hard to collect them. And you can pretty much only stand in one spot, which means the fire is just going to burn away beneath you. So I get a feeling I'm going to get through this level without dying, but believe me, I died lots of times on this level because it's just like, ugh. not a fun level. And then if you get to round whatever 36 plus 43 is, um, whatever, the hard version of this level, there's twice as many enemies, and some of them are the Darumas, the chain of Darumas, and I think maybe some Hoppy guys too. So that's a pain. Round 37. If you notice, I jump through and I can shoot the dragons through that little opening. So I did end up getting all the dragons there. And I'll try to collect them before they eat my time. And I can safely be under that dice because there's too many enemies for the enemies to jump out of it yet. Too many enemies on screen for the enemies to come out of the dice. So as soon as I collect some, they'll... And I made a dumb mistake there, actually jumping through to where more dragons would come out. But luckily, I didn't die. I just find a spot to shoot all the rest of the guys out. Round 38. Oh, this is another pain in the butt level. You notice I found a safe spot here. That was from trial and error. Safe spot for the Dharmas to jump over me. Collect all them, then get all the Mexican wrestlers. Oh, and the worms, I guess. Just seemed like a pretty safe spot here for that. I would have to look out above me for the worms, though. So eventually they would have crawled up there and dropped on me. And then, oh, and there's some snails. How much fun. Let's see if I can get the snails at all. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I got like 3 of them there. Anyway, that was actually a dangerous spot for the worms, so I got out of there. It's tricky because it's sometimes you don't see exactly what all the wall is that the worms are crawling around, and they'll come up above you like that and just drop down. 1 snail and 1 worm. Oh, got him. Oh, well, not round 30. Bonus round. If you fast forwarded, you missed this. Oh, see, it's repeating. That's the same pattern from the first one. Just notice because the first round has dun, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from left to right. Then after that, I don't know, kind of alternates, whatever. Round 39. Oh, this one's also kind of pain in the butt. What a coincidence. So I just ignored the Dharmas for now. I was in that, I get to the safe spot, you know, the safe spot with a roof above you. And there's 1 Dharma on the loose, so I didn't drop down because I probably would have fallen right on him. But I can collect all these guys. And make my way through back to here and try to get the rest. I don't know how I end up getting... Oh, do I go through... How did I... I'm trying to figure out what I did on this level to not die. Oh, I got through that way. That's kind of weird. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay, around 40, we're getting pretty high here. So this one, they're all breakable walls. And the thing of this, if you want to, see, I made a mistake there. If you want to keep the guys in their own rooms, don't stand around too long, or the roof will burn out. But you see the roof burned out to that 9 die, what a dice thing. So if there's jumpers in there, they'll just jump right out. Oh no, they made their way through that way. I was lucky. They got themselves stuck. It's nice when that happens. Round 41. Oh, this level's also a pain in the butt. Because there's a gap for the worms to crawl through, but it's not wide enough for you to walk through. So you have to look out for worms. So if you're right up against the wall shooting against it, sometimes a worm will... See, that one almost ran right into me. So you have to give enough space for them. And the rest is just, I don't know, being careful for stuff not to land on you, especially these jumpers. Round 42. This one, I use that pattern. I jump up and get to this safe spot here, at which point some of these jumpers will get right up to you. And you can't wait around too long or else a fire will appear. And then I get to the equivalent safe spot. I think, there's three of these worth, 3 or 4 levels, like, 3 or 4 of those repeating kind of levels. But what's a pain in this is the jumpers. They're not a chain of jumpers. They're all just single ones. Actually, there might be 2 there. But there's no long chain of them, so they just end up jumping all over the place. And pretty soon you just have a screen full of enemies jumping all around. So it's really easy to die on this level. So I was lucky with the use of save states. And, oh, no, I'm not. This is a bonus game before the last unique level. So I think I'm going to get all these guys without missing any. They do they do go back down if you wait too long. So, but I got perfect bonus. Round 43. So this one, oh, I did that. Okay, I see. Sorry, I was playing through this last night and I did something else there. I just shot the walls and let them all just fall through. So this is and there's no roof to this, so they'll just fall through. So you just have to jump through and get them. And even if they are falling infinitely like that, if I can say it, they'll still eventually eat your time away, even if they're just falling. They don't need to land to eat your time away. So you just have to try to get them. And I might also mention, if you land in a pit like that, you're kind of out of luck. You just have to wait for the fire to rescue you, because it's too far to jump out of. Okay, repeating round 1. So this is round 1, but as you can see, there's lots more dice around. So there's at least twice as many enemies, maybe 3 times. But it's just, they're all over the place. You see worms and Mexican wrestlers. You just have to use your reflexes here. And yeah, I guess I don't have too much else to say about it other than this is a good example of the flat level where I can shoot the snails away. So I have a little more luck with the snails on these levels because there's just some flat spots where I can get to them. It's like this guy. Oh, no. I'll get to him later, I guess. But the other thing, you really can't let too many of the enemies eat your time away here if you want to beat it in 1 life anyway. Because you can see the time's already running pretty low and I'm getting as many as I can. And I already got the hurry up. It's just so many enemies to just get them before your time runs out. Round 45, the repeat of level 2. I think usually I would get those Mexican wrestlers, but I figured there's so many other enemies, I might as well just get started on everything. So, like in round 2, I would get all those Mexican wrestlers first, but in round 45, there's too much going on. I gotta get started here. Get all the dragon heads and all the snails and worms and everybody. If you notice, I was thinking somebody's gonna pop out of there, but I think I needed to get that one Mexican wrestler out of the way first, or I don't know, there's so many enemies. It's the other thing with these levels, when you get this high, I guess maybe it depends on where you're standing or where the screen is at. Different dice will pop out. Like maybe you're playing it one time and the enemies will appear out of one of the dice, and then you play it again later and the first enemies will appear out of a different set of dice, and you're wondering like what's going on. So that makes it a little extra hard to figure out the pattern. But I think I'm going to get through this without dying. I get the feeling. And actually, I guess pretty luckily, it looks like I'm not that short on time. I think also having chains of enemies like that makes it a little easier to get to them, so they're not just all over the place. Once you get them, you pretty much get them all. Round 46. Another tricky round. I found a safe spot here to get these guys. And I don't know if that would work on round 3 or not. I'll have to try that actually. Just stand there and get them as they appear. And this is just where it starts getting crazy because of the worms. Because there's these repeating platforms and the worms are just all over the place. So I think I get pretty lucky in a few spots here. Like right there, that guy should have gotten me. That was pretty close. I did see that guy, that was skill. The rest is pure skill. No luck involved. Let's see what I do. Just enjoying watching my gameplay here. So yeah, wait for these guys. See, that was good. And just hopefully these Darumas won't run into me. what did I end up doing? Let them go below or above? Yeah, oh no. Thought I would have waited for them there. I wait for them eventually somewhere. I think I was worried about the worms still. Yeah, that's a good spot. And one guy left. Oh no, two. Jeez. These guys really are pains. There they go. The thing on this level too, it just keeps falling down. So the enemies don't really stop anywhere, they just keep going. Anyway, I did it. Not round 47, the bonus game. I think this is the last bonus game where I'll get perfect. Because after that's round 50. And maybe I do get perfect on round 50 and then I just let it go. I actually mess up on one of them. Anyway, round 47. This is not too bad because of it's actually designed to have a lot of ceilings above you. So it's pretty hard for stuff to drop on you, except for maybe worms. But you can pretty much see them coming. The other thing is there's lots of flat surfaces for the snails, even though they're not cooperating there. I think I just said forget about it, get to them later. And all these yellow guys. They might start doubling up, so this is a good spot to get to them as they fall down. And they're starting, let's see what I do here. No, I still got them. I was kind of lucked out a little bit. It's just getting too busy there, so I got out of there. I might have been able to stand my ground there. But better safe than sorry, right? Let's see who pops out of here. Dharmas! By the way, the Dharmas are something from Japanese culture, by the way, if you're wondering what the heck I'm talking about. US pronunciation Dharma, Japanese pronunciation Daruma. So, it's also strange to have Daruma as an enemy, since he's a monk, basically, who meditated so much that his arms and legs withered away, and he's just a withered old man with a face. Okay, anyway, round 48. Go look that up on Wikipedia. You got the return of the Mexican wrestlers and the dragon heads, but now the Dharmas are in the mix. So, yeah, I don't know, not too much to say about this level. You can kind of just see what I do here. It's basically same idea as, was that round 3, round 4, whatever this was. But, yeah, round 5. But anyway, same idea, but just look out for all the extra added enemies. Round 49. So, if you remember, I was at this platform before to shoot these dragon heads away. Except now the Dharmas are after me, so I gotta get out of there. It's just crazy. I don't know, this is what I wondered. Like, did the programmers think that people were gonna get this good? Maybe they did. They thought people were gonna become super expert players. Which, maybe now they will be. I'll inspire some of you. Because I'm actually not this good. This was after many tries. See, I almost died there. The dragon almost ran into me. Although I was able to eventually get through without dying, it's hard. It's pretty hard. So there's just craziness all over the place here. So also you see that Dragonhead doesn't want to go up too high for some reason, so I have to go down and get him. Yeah. And then we're on to round 50, the pig face. Another pain in the butt animal round. The idea with this is the same. First of all, to get the Mexican wrestlers and the worms, just like in the regular version of this level. And then, sometimes you'll get that Dharma appear. Like sometimes, I don't know, sometimes the next dice to let enemies out will be the one inside that room. Sometimes it won't be. So this time it wasn't. So I just got those guys and then got out of there before the other enemies appeared. And then the rest of the two Dharmas will keep going back and forth between those two platforms underneath the pig head. So you can pretty safely fall down here and then make sure they're not jumping over there and just shoot them away. Here's the bonus round after round 50. And I don't know if I let myself get a perfect on this or not. it's not too hard. You just have to see where they pop up, and you can scroll from left to right. You can you don't have to. If you're at the edge, you don't have to. You can move through the edge. Is what I'm saying. So, and at round 51, this is without save states. So let's see how I do. So far, so good. I think I do die on here though, but I'm getting these guys out of there. If anything, I would run out of time just because there's so many enemies here. Use the same technique for these worms. They followed inside where that dice was, so that was close. Just a lot of close calls here. So anyway, this is by now pretty much just reflex and taking care not to let enemies out of a room if you can help it. Which in this case is only the snails. The rest of the guys are loose. So I fall into one. And I finally turned into a ghost and flew away. But now those dharmas should be pretty well trapped down there. Just have to look out for the worms. So I can get one room away. Oh, no. Maybe I'll do this instead. Yeah, get... Come on, get down there. We're worrying about the worm. Okay, now I can do this. Get down so I'm safe here for a little bit, and then shoot him away like that. And one guy jumped up. So sometimes they do stuff that you can't quite predict. That's where your reflexes come into play. These guys are stuck in the room, so I'll let them out. Oh, that was a good move. Yeah, I found a good spot to shoot those worms away. And we just have snails and yellow marshmallows. Two of the big pain in the butt enemies. I'd say pain in the ass, but I'm trying to keep this PG-13. Anyway, keep those yellow guys in the room for now and worry about the snail. And there's so many guys that would double up on each other. See, I can't even shoot them when they're in the room. So you gotta split them up as hard as it is, and shoot that guy away. That's a good example of being one below. Shoot him right in his groin. But if you're above them, then you'll be too high. But if you're below them one level or on the same level, you can shoot them. So that's round 51 with no save. I only lost one life. See, I'm not that bad. And I was gonna go this way, and I'm like, I can't go that way. So I went down and I don't know, took that path. And I still made it all right. That's the other thing. In some of these higher levels, some of the dice will block some of the ways that you're used to going, if you really know the levels like me. And I barely avoided those worms, barely avoided that dragon head, so I was getting a little lucky here. But I am mindful of those worms above me, because they're around. They'll drop right on you. So I have to be careful of that one. I pretty much got this under control. So I even got through this level without dying, and I had a pretty good amount of time left too. But I think it's all downhill from here. Round 53 is, I use the same pattern here, but in this case I think it only lets out a few. Yeah, it stopped letting them out. So I went back up. Oop. So from here, I don't actually exactly remember what I did. I think it's, like I said, it's just reflexes. It's a little bit of remembering what the pattern of the room is and then just seeing what happens. Look out. Here's a good example. See, one jumped up. I should have gotten those guys. One jumped down and went right on my head. It's really a pain. And then since I didn't collect them, they still appear. So only the enemies that you collect will not be counted next time. Yeah, good thing that guy's trying to be tough and jumped right back to me. Usually they just jump away. Near the snail again. Pain. So we are, oh, that was lucky, approaching the ending here. I believe I get to round 55 before I die. Round 54. Even more jumpers in here now. So anyhow, there's a few more things I wanted to talk about, that the way the enemies react to your shots. One thing that can be dangerous, if you're shooting a stream of bullets and enemies jump down into it or up below it, it'll basically stop them, and like a chain of enemies is what I'm talking about, and they'll jump back down to avoid it or jump up. So it's happened sometimes with the chain of dharmas. They're bouncing down, and I'm shooting a stream of bullets, and they basically bounce across a stream of bullets. It's happened before where they actually bounce all the way across to where I am. Like, I think I'm safely across a pit or something like that, and they'll just bounce on the bullets and kind of bounce into me. So sometimes you want to make them, um, you want to shoot in the middle of the chain basically to kind of break them up, so that helps. The other thing is with these jumpers, sometimes they usually just jump up straight in the air more or less, but sometimes if you're far enough away, they'll jump almost horizontally, and the time's about to run out here. And you'll see, they don't kill me with it, but there's one jumper, there they go. See, they jumped really almost horizontally there. So sometimes they'll jump into you, so that's I don't know, you have to make sure you're not too far away from them in an open space, because they'll kind of jump at you. The other thing that I haven't even mentioned yet, if you have a bunch of jelly beans that you collect at a time without waiting, without too much of a gap in between, the points will add up. So the most I've gotten is 15 like that. So they start at 200 points, and the next one's 400, 600, 800, 1,000, and then from there it goes 2,000, 3,000, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then 10,000, and then the 15th one is 50,000. And there's no example of that on this, I don't know, 50 level, 55 level demo, but I did record that happening, which was, you can select that at the main menu by going to the treasure room button and clicking left. It's my little secret button. Anyway, the last thing is a high score. So obviously my real high score isn't 2.9 million, but I do get about a little bit over 1 million so far. So we'll see how I do. That's it. See you later. Bye.